Hey everybody, this is Irman Brody with the very new My Paranormal podcast, where we interview our friends with special stories, mostly involving the paranormal and supernatural. I make it a point that for the people that we interview, I don't know the stories. They have not told me the stories, so it's gonna be new to me as it is new to you all. Today we have my friend Sandra Beatrice. Thank you so much for being here, Sandra. This is one of our very first interviews. As you can see, we'll get better equipment soon enough, but we're in baby steps. We're in baby steps right now. So thank you so much for being one of our very first podcast interviews.
Yay, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So before we dive into your stories, let's get to know you as a person. Where'd you grow up? Where are you now? What do you do? All that good
Mhm.
stuff.
So I grew up in East LA and I lived there. I was teetering between LA and Chino Hills with my grandparents. And the majority of my stories take place in Chino Hills. But they do follow me into LA and back and forth. So very interesting stuff. Today, where I'm in Long Beach, California. I don't know how I ended up here, but I've been to various cities throughout Southern California.
Okay, cool. And looks like you've been in LA County for a while now. It's funny, for those who are listening and who don't see a visual, I I purposely am recording with my back to my wall because I don't want no funny stuff going on behind me. So I don't want to see nothing funny when I look at this later on, Um, because we are talking about something super creepy. So yeah. So let's get to your stories. How many do you have to share with us today?
Um, Today, let's share. I think I have one really good one.
Okay.
But man, it's years of stuff, so
Okay.
I can give a little bit of background.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I would love for you to be as detailed as possible. Also, before we get going, I'm curious, what was your belief? I guess if there was a scale of 1 to 10, what would your belief scale be before you started experiencing this stuff? And of course, now I'm assuming it's a 10, but before you experienced this stuff, what was your belief factor in the supernatural?
Um, my belief factor has always been a 10. However, back in this time of my life, I was a practicing Catholic.
Okay.
So, what those things were to me are very different than what they are today. Today, I've studied world religions. I respect all religions. However, I've chosen not to be religious, but very spiritual. So, today, what my definition of what could have happened is slightly different and maybe not as scary as it was in that moment when I was a practicing Catholic. I think it was a lot more terrifying.
Okay, fantastic. We have the same backgrounds. Born and raised Catholic. My family practices Catholicism, so I think I can relate to you when I hear your story. So I'm excited. So once again, folks, when we interview our friends and other special guests, we have no background to your stories. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, hopefully it doesn't give me nightmares today, Sandra. So okay, let me ask you this: on a scale of 1 to 10, on a scare factor, what does your story fall on?
Man, I was there. I lived it. It's a hard 10 for me. To
Oh
this
my
day,
God.
I'll tell you, to this day, that house that it happened in,
Yeah.
it was my childhood home. And when you dream of a place you've been at before, those dreams of that place are always a little different.
Yeah.
When I dream this house, it is always identical and it is always a nightmare. And I don't necessarily believe in nightmares or have nightmares, but this is something that literally, when I wake up to this day, shakes me to my core.
Okay, wild. Well, luckily I am recording in broad daylight.
Yeah.
It's 6:30 here in LA, but there is still plenty of sunshine and sunlight. So actually I did that on purpose. I'm like, you told me let's record after 6. I'm like, let's make it 6:30. Let's not go past 8, 8:30. I'm currently by myself, and my roommate and I, we do have a dog. So luckily for us, our dog doesn't bark at random things and things that aren't there. So we've been fortunate in that regard. But right now it's just me and our dog. So I I, I had to do this in daytime.
I love that. That's how you know it's gonna be good.
Okay, Sandra, the floor is yours. I'm gonna mute myself. Um, and yeah, enjoy reliving these horror moments in your life. That's the
Okay,
best
yeah.
way I can put it.
Yeah. So, this is my childhood home in Chino Hills. I'm living with my grandparents at the time. And This happened after I had bounced back and forth between LA and Chino Hills. So I'm already here at this time. I'm about 16 years old. And in LA, prior to coming back home here at 16, in LA, I had a plethora of Ouija boards. And yeah, I'm sorry, I see your face. If everyone can see your face right now, that would be amazing. So I did a lot of really cool, stupid things as a kid. And so, there were a lot of consequences. So I left LA at 16 because I had amazing friends, but we were doing a lot of really bad things. And I just ultimately asked myself, what kind of a future do I want for me? Do I want it to end up here, or do I want to, rehab myself in Chino Hills? I wasn't doing drugs, but I call it the rehab phase, right? So I go to Chino Hills, and I guess the consequences of the things I was doing in LA with Ouija boards followed me. So I'm in my room, and I make the decision I want to do my confirmation. I, for shock value, left the church and would carry around all kinds of creepy, crazy things. It was a lot of shock value stuff. But then when things started happening, I'm like, this is really real. And you know what? I'm going to confirm to God. And so I start going to the church and I'm doing my confirmation. And as I continue to do that, more and more things were happening to me in this house. My blinds would move, things would turn on and off. I'd wake up in cold sweats. Things were moving, things were happening. It was terrifying. And the cool thing, I guess, is that it wasn't just happening where I was the only witness. My friends would come over and leave terrified. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. So I'm very happy that it wasn't just me and I wasn't going crazy, because other people witnessed and saw things too. So the main story, like the craziest thing, this one, I'm home alone, and my grandfather had already passed away years prior to me coming back. So now it's just my grandma. And she's newly retired. She has her scrapbooking friends and this and that. I come home from school. She's gone doing her things. And I'm home alone. It's daylight, and I'm like, you need to come home before it gets dark, because that's how scared I was, just like you. And I'm in my room and I hear the garage door opening, because, I got home, garage door's closed. I hear the garage door opening. So I'm like, yes, she's home. I'm so excited. Okay, great. I can enjoy the rest of my day. And I go to the garage and the garage door is not opening, it's closing. And I just got chilled. Oh my God, the garage door is closing. I'm standing there in shock. I'm watching it close all the way. And all of a sudden, I hear something running toward me. I'm like seriously fighting back tears. I hear something running toward me. I'm in shock. I can't move. I want to scream. I can't run, nothing. All of a sudden, that door that I'm holding open just slams shut in my face. I fucking ran. I ran and I thought that I was going to die before I got to the front door to leave the house. I seriously thought that I was going to die. I ran in the gate, like I have a gate out front and it has a clicker and it's inside the house. I jumped my gate to get away from my property. That is the most scariest thing that happened to me there. But after that incident, one of my good friends, still friends today, we've known each other since we were 7, her mother lived in Mexico and she talked about how she had been possessed as a child. And after I told her this story, she's like, you cannot sleep in that house anymore. So I would go sleep at my friend's house and her mother would stay up all night watching me. And she would say, yeah, I go to sleep and I leave the Bible open next to you and it would try to start moving. It would try to want to fall off. And the same things that were happening to me in my own home were happening to me in front of her while I slept. And yeah, so a lot of my high school years were I was being watched by another, friend's mom, because my grandma wasn't really religious at the time. And she thought, I'm just a teen and teens go crazy and psychology and this and that. And she didn't believe me. So it was really tough. I felt very alone, but things were happening in that house all the time. And that was probably one of the scariest things. I was alone. A lot of things happened when other people were around, and I wasn't as scared. Obviously, I'm freaked, but it's like there's other people. I'm not crazy. And so yeah, that's what happened.
How amazing is it that your friend's mom stepped in and was like, "Hey, I don't care how long I had to stay up to watch you. I'll watch you till you till I know that you're safe." You know, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome. They live in Texas now. My friend just recently moved back to California, but she came out to visit me recently and just, wished me all this wellness and stuff. You can feel it that she loves and cares for people. So I felt safe around her, even though things were still happening, and it was very scary. After that, it took me a couple years. I want to say maybe 2 years after my confirmation, I decided that I was not religious and did a lot of studying of world religions. And I believe in energy. And I mean, I do believe, like back then I thought, oh my gosh, it's every demon under the sun that I summoned on the Ouija board. Now, if you believe in energy, there's positive and negative, and you can, bring in negative energies. Absolutely. Do I think they were demons today? No. Back then, absolutely, I did. It was really scary.
Let me ask you this: you mentioned, playing around the Ouija boards, and do you believe that what happened in the house truly stemmed from your history in dabbling in that?
No, actually, I don't,
Okay.
because I had been terrified of that house since I started living there at the age of 4.
Okay.
And that was obviously before my Ouija board experience. However, my mom had me when she was 16. And my mom had a history of also playing with Ouija boards when she was in her teens. So
Whoa.
could it be from the Ouija boards? I mean, maybe, but not from me. Maybe from my mother. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that I had been terrified of that house since day one. And once my grandfather passed away, that's when I started to actually witness things happening. I don't, I know, like it's not him. There was
Yeah.
something there before him. Um, so I don't know. Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, and you don't have to say any specific names. I don't want you to say any specific names,
okay.
actually. But when you did dabble with the Ouija board, who or what
Mhm.
were you trying to connect with?
It's not necessarily that I was trying to connect with anything in particular specifically. I was just trying to connect. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a very intuitive person. I do believe that you can connect with energies. Uh, Brief example: my father passed away last October, and after he passed, my radios would start turning on and music would play, and he was obsessed with music like I am, and I feel like, okay, that's a connection. So I was looking for things like that, like cool stuff. It just so happened to go down a very dark path. But I
Just
wasn't intentionally looking for something dark and scary. I've always been, fascinated by the metaphysical and,
yeah.
things of out of this world and nature. And I knew you could connect. So that's all I was trying to do.
That's funny you say that. I feel like it's like straight out of a horror movie. That radio thing happened to my siblings as well. So this happened in our family home back in Virginia, where my family is right now. So the room that I currently have, that that I go to when I visit, right, where my stuff is stored and all that. So this is back in, like, I want to say '04. My older brother says it's around the time that my grandmother had passed. So it may be connected. So, and I might be mistaken. It might be a different year, might be before or after. But when he recalls the story, he mentions it being around that time period. So our younger sister, she's a big fan of Hello Kitty. So we had this Hello Kitty clock, even though it was in my room at the time. We had this Hello Kitty clock, um, and it did play. It played. It had a radio on it. And
Yeah.
one day we're chilling downstairs, and all of a sudden we hear the radio go off. And like I said earlier, it's straight out of a movie, because it wasn't just playing any music. If I recall, it was playing like old timey
Yeah.
music that you don't want to hear nowadays. You're like, oh, once you hear it on the radio, you're like, okay, this is paranormal. I kid you not. When we went to turn the clock off, it was like, imagine all of us linked together, like arm in arm, like like the person in front is trying to turn it off, and everyone else behind them is like linked arm to arm, like because no one wants to go by themselves to turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
So it's amazing to me how, let's just assume that it's paranormal. It amazes me how, you know, ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call it, because people have
Yeah.
different beliefs, and people have different beliefs as to what they are, right? So it amazes me how they connect with us that way through modern technology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so, and again, yeah, call it whatever you want to call it. But if, you know, if you look at science and you look at energy and all that kind of stuff, and that never dies, I mean, that to me makes logical sense. So yeah, the radio thing, I love how you said that because it triggered, like I'm going through a phase of, in October, I was going through a phase of listening to Tovolo, you know, pop and all that stuff. And my dad liked rock. And so I
hmm
didn't have that on. So why would YouTube music just at 2 a.m. throw on a rock jam? You know, that's just a little weird. It's it's unexplainable, but also at the same time completely explainable
yeah.
if you believe that these things don't ever die.
I have a few friends who really relay this. I can't speak. Relay that story with their loved ones who passed, who had that song, right? They had that specific song, and whether they're in the car, whether they're at home, it would play on a radio, like whatever that song was to that person that is gone. It would play, and it's like it's random. Like, why is this song being played on this radio station? It makes you wonder: are other listeners listening right now hearing the same song, or is it like specific to that car? Like, was it chosen for that car because of the person who passed on?
That is very interesting. Um, I want to say you're not alone because I think I've been so thankful to have witnesses. I'm thinking it could have honestly just been a fluke that happens at the station, right? And it goes worldwide for everybody. And you just so happen to be the lucky one who got to experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, once again, out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what's that song? Of course, you have plenty more years ahead of you, but what's that one song that you'd like to leave behind for your family and your loved ones to once you pass? What would that song be that you'd play on the radio for them?
Oh my gosh.
They're
That's a
like, "Yep, it's
difficult.
Sandra."
Yeah, that's difficult because like I can't tell you a favorite song because I can tell you that I love like 20 of them all the same. And
Yeah.
then there's a lot of stuff there. It's like that's not being played on the radio,
Hmm.
you know? So that would be really weird then if I do leave. I would say Retrograde by James Blake. That's never been on the radio.
Okay.
It probably never will. And if that goes on the radio after I pass, oh my God, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine would be okay. So mind you, it's not rare. It wouldn't be playing on the radio nowadays. But it's common.
Mhm.
One of my favorite songs is "Let It Be" by the Beatles, and the reason I bring it up is because I feel like it's still a comforting song. Someone
Yeah,
might go, "Oh my God, that's Erman. Ah, creepy," but then it's like it's a comforting song. You know, it
that's a
feels good.
great song.
Yeah. So that would be my song. I mean, who knows? Like years ahead of me, I might pick another song, but if like that would be the song at the moment.
I love that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
How like do you want to be buried or cremated or what do you want to
Ooh,
do?
you know, I think about this quite often, and I'm sure you do too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know. I feel like it's like I want my family to decide for me, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can choose. Because like if you think about it from I guess you can say even whether it's religious or spiritual or um paranormal perspective, like I don't know. Like some people have this fear of being buried and dying, but then like your body's stuck in the grave and like you can't move and like I don't know. I don't like thinking about death right now. but then but then if you're cremated, same thing. Like what if you're burned alive? Like, like your
Yeah, what
body.
if you burned alive?
Yeah. Jeez. But if you're Ash, at least you can be like anywhere with somebody. Does it make sense? Like it's kind of weird to say, but I know some people who have ash in like a locket or something, or
Mhm.
something that their family wears around their neck, something like that, or just an urn on the mantle.
Yeah. I asked you because you ask about music and what's your song. And so I know there's a company who will put your ashes into a vinyl record. And I know people are using it. They're putting them into diamond rings now. You can be planted into a tree. Just all kinds of different things now. I know for a fact, I know for sure I don't want to be buried.
Okay.
But I don't know what I would want done with my ashes.
Wild. Okay. Yeah, true. It's kind of okay. I don't want to sound insensitive because I know a lot of families for many years, millions of families around the world. They do the ashes thing, but like part of me feels like it's kind of grotesque. Like here's here's mom and dad, on the mantle.
Yeah, it is a little weird. Yeah, I don't know that I would want to be on, like, that's another thing. One of the greatest lessons that I've learned experiencing death in my family and growing up is that, do I want to become a tangible item for then it to be lost or misplaced, and then this person go into a deep, severe depression because
Yeah.
they lost me, a
Yeah.
tangible thing where I feel like, we are so much more than just our human bodies. Like, you cannot lose a connection or energy or all that kind of stuff. So,
Can you
yeah,
imagine? Sandra was just in my purse. I don't know where she is.
yeah. We're
I'm
throwing that vinyl record on accident and
I know, right? Oh my god. Oh my god. Can you imagine the vinyl record playing? All of a sudden, it's like a voice.
That's scary.
It's like
I
your
don't know.
voice. I don't
Yeah.
know. That'd be too much for me. Oh no, definitely not. I'm a big horror movie fan. So for you, what is a movie that I guess when it comes to your personal hauntings, what gets it right the most?
That gets it right.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
in terms of portrayal of hauntings.
Oh shoot, man. I'll be honest because I love horror too, but my favorites are actually the ones where you don't know if weird and scary things are actually happening or if they're psychologically not okay.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? The one Shutter Island with DiCaprio, where like
Mhm.
he's in a mental institute,
Yeah.
or like Sucker Punch, they're in a mental institute. Like, you don't know, is this really happening or are they just not okay in the head?
Yeah.
I love that because I feel like that is a lot more real to me, even
Yeah.
though I've gone through things. That's a lot more scarier. Or like, did you ever watch that documentary where they're following an older lady? It's fake though, and she has dementia and she's
Yes.
like levitating and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yes.
Well, yeah, when you look back at history and possessions and things like that, or people who do have dementia, it's all like a psychological effect. And even people who have bipolar and they have these episodes, they relate a lot of their episodes to something religious.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, that's scary to me. That is super scary because I don't know, that is the living,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that would be scary to me is talking to a drug addict who gets hallucinations a lot.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, wait a minute, are they hallucinating these things or is it paranormal? You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know. Like, I mean, have you ever done hallucinogens?
No, I'm a good boy.
Okay, so I have. And it is such a trip when
Yeah.
you see certain things, like you literally see, they say we only see 10% of colors, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're hallucinating, you literally have seen colors you've never knew even existed. And so I've always questioned, like, is this always here and it's just not visible to my sober eye?
Right.
Or am I really just like totally tripping with my neuro brain cell links and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff? You don't know.
That is wild. Guess a good point. That
But
could be entirely different episode.
yeah,
Not exactly paranormal, but just another topic we can use. That's perfect.
yeah, just
So
another topic.
I have a question for you, if you don't mind, just because we still got time.
Yeah.
Would you? I know you have plenty of stories to pick from. So if you can pick one, but we can. I still want to do another episode with you, like follow up with these other stories. But if you can share another one, that'd be great. I can still hear you, but I'm gonna plug in my laptop really quick to charge.
Okay.
But feel free to go ahead and start telling your story if you'd
Okay.
like.
So another story. Since you had a jaw drop for the Ouija boards, I'll talk a little bit about that. So I've always had one on hand. And growing up in LA, I had my other group of friends and they had, one or two each. And we noticed that whenever we would bring more than, let's say, three of them together and use them all together, one of my dogs would run out of my yard and get hit on the same corner and die. unfortunately, I had 3 dogs die and 1 get hit. That wasn't my dog that didn't die. And on that same corner, before my dogs were hit and killed, a young mom with her toddler son was also hit and they were killed on that corner. And that corner there's also a church on that corner. So I thought that that was very coincidental, very scary, very creepy. And it was, we never really put 2 and 2 together until I guess my third dog got hit. And then we're like, wait a minute, the last time this happened, we did this. And the last time that happened again, we were doing that, like, oh my God. And I think that's when I had made the decision of getting rid of things and moving the hell out of LA. But it didn't stop. I mean, then the stories continue in Chino Hills. So yeah.
Oh, sorry about your dogs first and foremost, but
Thank you.
that's wild. I mean, that's more than a coincidence.
That's way
It has
too,
to be.
yeah.
Has to be more than coincidence.
That's way too many things.
Yeah.
And in the same place. And I don't know what happened prior to us doing that, why the accidents and deaths that caused it there were, but I just know whenever I did that, that's what happened.
Yeah. Do you know, did the other neighbors have the same situation in that corner?
Our neighbors would tell us about the stories of things that happened prior to us moving there, and then things happened while we were there, without me provoking anything. And then once I got into all that stuff, it was like very apparent that there was something not good.
Wow.
Yeah. For all of our LA listeners, that corner is right at the corner of Oscar de la Hoya has a charter school now. He had a gym there prior to that school. And right across from there is a little church. And then across from there is like a little liquor market. Beswick and Lorena Boulevard for all of our LA people who are curious.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to Google it.
Yeah.
What is it? Beswick and what?
Beswick and Lorena.
Okay. Yeah, you have to text me that. That's wild.
Okay.
Now we know. Hey, you never know. You may, depending on how many people listen to this, you might actually give the liquor market some customers.
Some customers. There you go.
We benefited somebody.
Yeah, someone benefits.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for your time. We're about to hit the 30-minute mark. Before we go, where can folks keep in touch with you on social?
Yes, I'm on social media. Sandra Beatrice 333. That's Sandra Beatrice 333. Yeah, that's about all I do. Instagram.
And it's all you need nowadays, right? Who uses Twitter? Who uses Twitter? No.
I'm not famous enough, but when I am, I will.
There you go. And you can find me at Erman Brady, ERMAN BARADI. Sandra, once again, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, this is the My Paranormal Podcast. It's so funny. It's such a simple name, but I looked it up and I was like, it doesn't look like anyone has the name. So My Paranormal Podcast.
Love it. Thanks so much for having me. It is an honor. I'm so excited.
And we'll see you again, hopefully soon, with more stories.
Yay!
Hopefully not new stories. Stories from your past.
New stories, man.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.